So in this video, I'm going to talk more about a recession. I'm going to show how you can illustrate a recession in diagrams, and I'm also going to talk about some reasons why an economy might be in a recession. Remember that overall, a recession means that you have 2 or more consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. So that means that your real output is falling for 2 or more quarters in a row in a year, or going from one year into another year in a row. So it could be quarter 4 of this year and quarter 1 of the next year. Both of those times your output's falling. And we said before that this could be because people are consuming less, firms are investing less, government are spending less, or it could also be that we are exporting less and importing more. But overall, that will mean that our output in our country will be going down. So any of those things. The first type of diagram that you could look at for this would be an aggregate demand and aggregate supply diagram. Remember that this is theme 2, so you need 2 labels here, 2 labels here, 2 labels here. This one is price level. This one is real output. I've drawn a Keynesian long run aggregate supply curve because that shows us more on the diagram. And then if we put in our aggregate demand curve, if you put it actually on the bend here, there'll be more for you to show. And you can see here that our initial equilibrium shows that our price level is at P and our real output is at Y. If we have a decrease in our aggregate demand, this will mean that we'll see a fall in real output. So you could say that this is illustrating being in a recession if this fall in real output lasts for 2 or more consecutive quarters. So if you put in your new equilibrium, Y1, and P1 here would be your new price level, and moving from here to here, we can see that we've got a fall in real output. So that's one way. You could have a fall in aggregate demand, which is what we were explaining here, and that could lead to a fall in your output in your economy. So at the moment with coronavirus in the UK and in the world, it's likely that we're going to go into recession because our aggregate demand is going to be falling, largely because consumers aren't spending as much money, some people are losing their jobs, and other people who are having to stay at home aren't spending as much money as they were before. Also, firms aren't making as many sales to consumers, therefore they're much less likely to be investing in capital. And also, we're less likely to be exporting goods to other countries because they aren't consuming as much either. So all of these things would be likely to cause aggregate demand to fall and to shift to the left. The other instance where we can have a recession which isn't caused by a fall in aggregate demand, you could say that you have a fall in your real output because of a fall in your productive potential. Remember that your long run aggregate supply curve shows your productive potential, and let's imagine that your aggregate demand is here, so that your initial equilibrium is here, and if your productive potential fell, that would cause your long run aggregate supply curve to shift over to the left. So let's imagine this happens, and this is your new long run aggregate supply curve. Because it shifted to the left, we have a lower productive potential in the economy here than we used to have here. And you can see that your aggregate demand is the same, but your new equilibrium position means that your output is lower at Y1. And this is actually considered to be a very bad situation. This is what we call stagflation, because actually as output is lower, it's likely that your unemployment is higher, but also you have inflation because you've had an increase in the price level. But this diagram over here, we've had a fall in aggregate demand, and that has led to a fall in real output. So you could use this to show a recession. In this diagram, we've had a fall in our productive potential. Our long run aggregate supply has gone down, and this has caused a fall in real output. So either diagram could be drawn to show the recession, going into a recession. The final diagram, just to show you quickly, would be the fact that you could show your real output over time. And when you're in a recession, it's when you're down here. This is where you're recovering, you're in a boom, you're slowing down, you're going into a recession, you're recovering, you're in a boom, you're slowing down, you're in a recession, you're recovering. This is generally what happens over time with real output. This is the economic cycle, which I've looked at in some other videos. And these points here are your recession points. And that completes the 2 videos on recession.